Alright folks, there she is, the lady. The back end of it is off. We're fitting this RNG, there it is, RNG tail tidy, and I was supposed to start the video at the beginning but I completely forgot. Right, now there's the back end. So that's the grab rail, that's the seat, front seat, and that's the entire rear fairing, and here's the frame underneath it. So I think the if you buy the original RNG kit, it comes with a set of instructions that you scan, and once you've scanned them, it takes you directly through to the instructions page, which is brilliant. It's a series of pictures, right? So you have to figure it out. So basically, you've got to undo those bolts that hold onto the grab rail. You've got to undo the two bolts there, or two screws there, that hold on the top of the rear fairing. And then there's some security pins. I'm not sure if you can see them. Let me see if I can zoom in on them. Those things there, the black ones, that are pop pins essentially. Push them in, and then the top end pops out. You take all of those out, and there's several of them. Two on this side, two on this side, and two underneath. Okay, and that essentially loosens the whole of the back. But then you've got this thing here, okay, which is a rubber grommet. And anyone who's taken a panel off a Gen 1 or 2 Hayabusa will know that there's quite a few of these. That the frame, that this part of the frame, well, you'll be able to see it here actually. The lug of this here pushes in to that rubber grommet, okay, and that just secures it. Once you pull those out, then the whole thing just slides off nice and easily in one piece, okay. Once that's done, then it's a case of taking off the tail end. Now you'll be able to see from mine that I've taken off the light as well, because I want to plug this light in. I'm not going to use the light that the RNG guys give, because this will plug straight into the harness and I don't want to faff around with the wiring. So what I've done is unscrewed this from the underside of the bike, and you can see that there's 4 bolts that hold it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And once you've done them, that's what they look like. Once you've done them, then essentially the whole thing will just drop out. This feeds through a hole here. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see it there. Feeds through a hole there and up through the bike into this part here, through there, and round here, and it connects to here. So this thing here is the rear light harness. This is the coil of the sleeve for the key, and this thing is the rear light harness. And you know, it's really tight in here in terms of wiring, so I really don't want to splice into anything or try and cut anything, because everything on this bike is connected to an electronic somewhere. So that's where we are at the moment. And in order to take the rear light off, there's a couple of bolts at the back that need to be unscrewed. Yep, they come out like that, 8mm bolts. Incidentally, I think they're 10mm. Those are 10mm, those are 8mm. And then essentially, you know, you're pretty good to go. And that's the top end, well, the entire piece of the rear end. So I'm going to take off the number plate, and then I'm going to attach the RNG piece. First of all, I think I'm going to put the light on to the RNG piece. I'll stick with the original light, and then I'm going to start feeding it through and connecting it back up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's on, and then I'll show you what it looks like when the whole thing is connected back up. Alright, so there goes those plans. That's the OEM light, rear light, and that is the RNG tail tidy. Difference in offset, difference in size. Why not just make it big enough, right, so you can fit the OEM light? So now I'm going to have to get rid of this, because I'm not going to cut the get rid of the harness, or cut into the harness. I need the hook, sorry, the adapter, so I'm just going to essentially splice, cut the adapter off and put it onto the where's it gone? Put it into the circuit. Ah! Alright, okay. That's the tail tidy on. I'm not tied it up to full torque yet. It's just light. And it would appear that my rant was premature about the wiring harness, because being a typical man, I opened the box, didn't read the instructions, and didn't realise that it actually comes with that. So I don't have to splice anything, really. Oh, you're going to love it. All I've got to do is connect that one to that one, and then just plug that straight into that piece there. And Janet's your auntie, mate. Janet is your bloody auntie. So that's the next job. Just connect these two to those two once I find out which one the earth is. So I'm assuming it's black to black and red to yellow, but I'll read the instructions just to double check. And then once that's done, I'll just put a nice run of insulation tape on that just to cover it up and keep it nice and tidy. And then I'll plug that into there, and that's it. That's that done. Then I'll torque everything up and put the license plate on, and then I'll start putting the back panel back on. And then the job that will be for tomorrow or the day after is going to be the end cans, but hopefully this should be done by tonight. Right, so that's what she looks like when she's done. Fairings back on, rear fairing back on, and just look how tidy and neat it looks with the extra, oh, I'll put it up there now, with the extra plastic gone and the tail tidy on. Brilliant, neat, clean and tidy. And I managed to put the hump on as well. I changed the seat for a hump because nobody really rides with me. I got pillion cover just in case I need it, but nobody really rides with me. So I took off the seat, took off the grab rail, and my bike didn't come with the pillion, with the seat cowl, so I bought that separately. But I think it just looks so smart. And now the next job is, like I said, the exhaust and the decals, just to break up some of that black. And I'm going to wrap the exhausts, boom, 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 like I've done with all my other bikes. Now with this, if you tackle this, it took me a couple of hours to get it done. If you take it to the dealership, they'll charge you a couple of hours of labour, which is probably going to be about a couple of £100 plus that. So if you take your time, you can do it, and it's not overly difficult. The key thing is making sure everything lines up, particularly here. So you can see those lines all are clean and how they're supposed to be, and really the only way that you get that on both sides is when you take this unit, right, and you have to approach it from that side like that, because there's a couple of locating lugs with rubber mounts on the actual frame and some holes or pockets that have been attached to the rear part of the fairing. Once you locate those in, and it pushes in and it's snug, and you'll hear it click in. It's not like it's more like a rubber kind of that kind of sound. Once that goes in, then everything else will kind of fall into place, and then it's just a case of making sure that you've located the front locating bolt into the rubber grommet, and then these collars slip in nicely to the plastic piece, and that's it then. Job's a fish. Once you've done that, then it's just tightening everything else up and putting all the little push pins back in. And yeah, once you've done it, that's what she'll look like. I think it looks just so smart. Breaks up that, you know, that well, just takes away that horrible kind of overhang plasticky look. And once I think the decals and everything else are on, it's going to look really, really nice. Right, so that's the tail tidy. And apologies to RNG for the rant, unnecessary. But they give you the little adapter that plugs into the wiring loom that connects this light. Yeah, and you can see that light to I forgot what I'm bloody saying, but yeah, you know what I mean. This thing comes off, so they give you a little piece of super glue to put on top of that. Why it comes off, I'm not entirely sure, so I've got to super glue that. There we go, folks. Enjoy. There she is, finally done. Back end on, cowl on, tail tidy on as well. It just looks so much neater in the back without that. It's actually up there now. Not sure if you can see it. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. There you go, lurking right at the top, ready to attack its next stock motorbike. So I just think it makes it look so much neater at the back without that big piece of plastic hanging over. And you'll notice that I also changed the end cans as well. So I'd already bought some. I actually bought the end cans before I bought the bike. So took the old ones off. Came off fairly straightforward. There's only a couple of bolts for the heat shield, 3 bolts for the heat shield, 1 clamp, and 1 bolt holding it onto the the foot peg mount, and that's it. And it's fairly straightforward. It slots off easily. But what they've done, Suzuki, is that they welded mounts for the heat shields, as you can see here, onto the actual link pipe. So it doesn't make it's not as nice smooth pipe like the Gen 1 was, where you can just take off that and put the other can on. It seems like a really narrow, thin pipe. You can probably tell from the diameter of the pipe. It's really narrow and thin, and then it kind of flares out as you get towards the top. The diameters are an interesting thing on this. So outer diameter, inner diameter, for those of you who are looking to change the can. So what I did was I wasn't going to pay to change the whole system because I ain't got that kind of money. And ultimately what I wanted to do was have a can that looks better than the stock one. And the stock one, let me show you where that is. Look at the size of them things, bloody hell, compared to that. So that's how big the Yoshi can is, and that's how big the stock one is. And the stock one just wasn't looking nice. And that was the first thing that I was going to change. In fact, I actually bought the cans before I bought the bike. So those are off a Jix 1000, and the diameter for the end pipe here is 52 mil. I think it is 51 point something mil. And the top end of the link pipe here is something like about 51, no sorry, that's 50, I think 56 mil, and that's 51 mil. So you've got about 5 mil to play with. And there was a local chap who specialises in exhausts. I took a couple of I took the end can to him, took the measurements to him, and he was able to flare out a piece of steel for me to make a coupler that connects onto here and onto here. But the problem is when you click it on, when you plug it in straight, this is coming out at an angle. So if I show you the back end, right, it's coming out at an angle. And what happens is that if you just plug it straight in, this end piece is somewhere over here, right? Because it just connects straight in like that. And that's no good, because it's never going to get the side of my drive and all the rest of it. And also it just looks ridiculous. So what I did was I mounted this first, and then with a hammer and a great deal of persuasion, I had to create a bend in the connection pipe. So from the end can to the link pipe, there's a slight bend in it that connects onto here and onto here, and it's, you know, as tight and as sealed as it's going to get. There's probably a little bit of gas escaping, but what you're going to do, unless you pay top dollar, you're going to have to live with that, and I'm quite happy to live with that. So I don't think it's going to impact on performance massively. So all those things considered, that's how it looks, and it sounds bloody amazing. It sounds like rolling thunder now, mate, compared to the stock one, which is fairly timid. This sounds absolutely brilliant, and it doesn't look too bad either. Warts and all, with all the little bumps and, you know, in what do you call it, imperfections in the pipe. It would have been nice just to have a smooth pipe that runs all the way. But right, there's heat shield mounts welded on to the link pipe, so they create bumps and imperfections when you wrap. But all, you know, I can live with that. It's either that or change the end can, or change the whole system, which, you know what, is a job and a half, taking off the whole fairings and coolant, and I ain't bothered about that. So I'm quite happy to live with that. Put the end cans on, and you know what, I'll start her up and you can hear what she sounds like. So what else was there? Oh, let me show you there's a collar, if I can find it around here. There's a collar that sits on the stock pipe, you know, from the pipe that runs from the manifold to the end can, which is like this, right? And this is, I assume it's some kind of emission or gas releasing thing, minimizing thing that they just put over the end can, and then sorry, they put over the connector pipe, and then your end can stock one fits on top of this. And it didn't come off the near side; it came off the off side. So there's that, and there's the heat shields. So all of that's going to stay, and if I ever decide to get rid of the bike, I'll put them back on. And there you go, there's the stock hands, and they weigh a flipping ton as well compared to the Yoshis. Yoshis are so much lighter. Not that I'm going to, you know, notice all that difference or be able to make any kind of saving on the racetrack, because I'm not going to race it, let's be honest. I'm not skilled and capable enough to do that, and this is just more a pleasure vehicle for me, so I just want to enjoy the ride on it. And that's how it looks all the way from behind. Twin Yoshis. Let me start it up for you so you can get a sound of what it's like. There you go. Sounds brilliant. And it's loud, it's deep, but it's not obnoxiously loud. There we go. Alright, let me knock it off. Before I knock it off, right, so that's it then, folks. What have we done? We have, actually, what did this start off as? Oh, that was it. Tail tidy. Tail tidy is done. Cowls on, and end cans are on with a connector pipe. So, a bit of a how-to. More so on the tail tidy, less so on the end cans. I should have done a video on that, but in all honesty, I forgot. What are you going to do? Suzuki 2021 Hayabusa Gen 3, and I'm going to be off on an adventure on this one in September, God willing. We're heading across to the Alps, Route Napoleon, Stelvio, all of that stuff. It's going to be fun. Until next time, folks, have fun, ride safe.